All the children, they ask about one thing, Tutankhamun.
Here in London for the first time, the last traveling exhibition of Tutankhamun. He is a very mysterious pharaoh. The use of gold everywhere, that's his name, the Golden Pharaoh, so he's shining everywhere.
This is the only museum that will include the full collection of Tutankhamun, 5,000 pieces.
The most valuable collection that we have on display will be the treasures of the young king Tutankhamun.
All the acquisitions of Tutankhamun shall settle in one place.
It was something that really drew my attention. Of all the souvenirs that my friends requested me to buy for them, had to be linked somehow to Tutankhamun. So I asked myself, why this king in particular? Why Tutankhamun? But as you can see, all the acquisitions related to King Tut were obviously bestsellers. And so I became certain that Tutankhamun was more or less the password for accessing the heart of any lover of the ancient Egyptian civilization. But again, why precisely King Tut? Is it because he began ruling Egypt at the mere age of 9? Or is it because he died in a mysterious way at the very young age of 18? Or maybe is it because when his tomb was discovered by the British archaeologist and Egyptologist Howard Carter, it was found totally intact and entirely made of solid gold, unlike those of the rest of the ancient Egyptian kings. What's more interesting is that even after nearly 100 years of the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb, there are still hidden secrets in there no one has been able to unravel up until now.
At last, all the acquisitions of Tutankhamun shall settle in one place. That king who had died young and left behind a golden treasure that was so much later fully discovered by Howard Carter, and that is about 100 years ago. This treasure will reveal all of its secrets for the very first time as part of a bigger dream of an integrated tourist city, which is linked to the Great Pyramids of Giza by a walkway that is close to the new Sphinx International Airport. Moments of glory and pride from the cradle of civilization.
It's clear that the key to solving this mystery starts here. I went to Dr. Hussein Kamel to tell me the story of the first building to be set up at the Grand Egyptian Museum. Dr. Kamel was keen on leading me to a new step, which would help me unravel this mystery.
Actually, the Conservation Center at the Grand Egyptian Museum which is abbreviated GEMCC, is the largest conservation center in the world. It was built with the second phase of the project to prepare and conserve the object selected for display. They officially opened in the conservation center, it was in 2010. The total space of the conservation center is 32,000 square meters. It's considered one of the largest conservation centers in the world. The conservation center is divided according, comprises 19 labs.
19 labs?
19 labs, yes, in 3 categories to cover all the aspects of conservation. So we have 6 labs for remedial conservation and 5 labs for preventive conservation. I think you want to ask about the preventive conservation. And the 7 lab for conservation science. These is the 3 categories for covered all the application and implementation of conservation.
He turned me on to Dr. Isa Zidane, who had supervised the transportation of thousands of pieces of antiquities from all over Egypt to the Grand Egyptian Museum. It seems I've arrived a little bit late. A lot of antiquities have already been restored, and I wasn't fortunate enough to see more of the acquisitions of Tutankhamun. It looks like going to the site of the Grand Egyptian Museum might carry a new spirit that could guide me to more secrets of the Pharaoh kings.
We already have around 50,000 artifacts. The most important in this 50,000 is the collection of King Tut.
Yes.
We have around now more than 5,000 artifacts. We moved it from Egyptian Museum and from Luxor Museum and from different storeroom in Luxor and Egyptian Museum.
There was this big event of actually transporting the coffin of King Tutankhamun's, King Tut, to the museum. What was so hard and difficult about actually transferring and transporting this tomb?
This is the first time for these coffins to go outside the tomb, not since discovering the tomb by Howard Carter, but during putting this tomb inside after King Tut died. Most of them was in very bad conditions because it was in the storeroom and no one deal with it, no one follow the condition of these pieces. And also we found the big challenge also for moving 6 chariots for King Tut, and this is the first time for 6 chariots to be in one place. When Carter discovered it, they put 4 in Egyptian Museum and 1 military museum and 1 in Luxor Museum. So the Grand Egyptian Museum takes a chance to collect this 6 chariots to be in one place.
Yes. Well, what about this laboratory? Wow, this looks very complicated, very fancy, but how do you come about restoring it or conserving it? Do you have any sort of reference?
Well, it's a long story. Well, let me start with this photo. This photo was for this golden cooler in the tomb of Tutankhamun. It was fixed on the mummy of Tutankhamun. As you can see, it wasn't fixed all together. Some parts were fixed and other weren't. Then it was fixed in this way, and it was displayed at the Egyptian Museum of Cairo.
In Tahrir Square?
Yeah, in Tahrir Square. Carter took for the cooler. As you can see, it was 15 units in the lower row and 15 units in the upper row. And it was all, like this in Tahrir Square, but when we were doing our research and we were doing examination for this golden cooler, at the backwards of the units, we found out that there is some kind of numbering, old Egyptian numbering or hieroglyphic numbering. Each unit has a number. Here it's number 1, and here's number 2.
Yeah.
I did it like several times,
Yeah.
one and one and one, and that's the final condition, as you can see.
Well, it's a pretty beautiful color,
Thank
I
you.
must say.
Thank you.
Miss Adil, can I take a moment of your time?
Yes, of course.
Well, obviously this is a conservation for rocks and stone statues. How difficult is it to actually conserve and preserve the statue and at the same time keep the authenticity of it without changing anything or messing around with it?
Well, authenticity is a major thing in our work because all our treatments are retrievable. So all the materials we are using that does not and don't interfere with the objects. And all the treatment we are applying on the statues, on the mural paintings, we don't do aesthetic measures like completing heads or coloring.
Do you get a lot of statues and artifacts that are related to King Tut here in this lab?
Well, in this lab we didn't have much related to King Tut, but we have other kings that are very, famous, and we are proud to conserve it.
The Grand Egyptian Museum set its first Guinness World Records by drawing Tutankhamun with a myriad of coffee cups in 2019 that reached 7,260 cups made of mosaic. This record broke the previous US record, as the Guinness Book of World Records prepares to mark down other things. The first of those things will be the Grand Egyptian Museum inauguration ceremony as the biggest celebrated event in history.
Sometimes moments could be historic and utterly unlikely to be repeated. Is it possible that it is only me who could see the dream which is drawing close?
The Grand Egyptian Museum is a cultural edifice and a global center for the interaction of civilizations and cultures all around the world. The outer foyer of the Grand Egyptian Museum is about 28,000 square meters in area.
We are here now in the piazza. the guest come from this side, there is a ticketing building. After the guest come here, he will see the first thing in the world, because here we will install the obelisk over this steel structure.
Okay.
It will be hanging obelisk.
The cartouche of King Ramses II is placed right below the pedestal of the obelisk, shall be exhibited for the first time in nearly 3,500 years. The word Egypt is inscribed on the coverings of the pillars and on the sides that carry the obelisk. It is inscribed in all world languages.
You can see in the front there's the pyramid wall.
Yeah.
As you see, there are big 3 pyramids.
As in the pyramids of Giza.
Yes. Cairo right court, there are a big bridge over there. If the guest goes there in the top, he will see Cairo from top to bottom. It shows that the civilization continue.
The facade of the Grand Egyptian Museum is made of marble, going up 5 stories to level with the height of the Great Pyramid of Cheops.
It was an Irish firm, and the designer, he was Japanese. The concept of the building, it started in a center point in the Ring Road Bridge, start focal point, and then diverged into the 2 tops of the biggest pyramid, Khufu, Cheops, and the smallest one, Mykerinos, okay, to the 2 tops. It's radial like this. There's nothing in parallel inside. Not a single column is parallel.
The museum is linked to the pyramids by a walkway that extends for 2 kilometers, making the entire area one monumental unit.
This is the biggest project that ever been done in Egypt since the pharaohs. We never had this amount of concrete ever. I'm very proud that we will be presenting such a construction and such artifacts to the people after us. It will be a huge heritage for everybody on this planet.
The legendary King Ramses II welcomes the whole world in the Grand Foyer.
I am Ramses II. I am the great son of Egypt. I'm the king of the greatest nation on the face of the earth. I will kill and erase from existence whoever thinks of displaying an act of aggression against Egypt, or come near it, or try and hurt my great people. I shall humiliate my enemies and all the enemies of my country and kingdom, so that Egypt would remain the highest, the strongest, the richest and the greatest nation on the face of the earth.
The atrium, or the main hall of the Grand Egyptian Museum, we have 5 main galleries, 2 of them for the king court only. It's about 7,000 square meters for the king only. The collection for the king court is about more than 5,000 artifacts. Will be displayed in one place for the first time in the history.
How are they going to get transferred here?
It's a surprise.
It's true I came out from the journey of searching for Tutankhamun with answers to some questions. Yet, King Tut still hasn't answered many questions. Surely he would provide answers to such questions in front of those who would visit him, like Yasin and his generation. They would have a much better chance than me to enjoy the stories of Tutankhamun, unravel the mystery, and live the dream that is loading.